Hi guys, and welcome back to another podcast in cars. So I'm having a good laugh because for me yesterday, but for you guys Monday's video, everyone's having a real big like hate fest against me because I said some controversial topics against Forza. So now the entire fanboy Forza community's after me. I'm having a good laugh about it. Feel a little bit bad, but anyway. In today's video, what is today's topic? Today's topic is what I've deemed the 400Z debacle. So this plays into more than just the 400Z, but I'll get into that. The main story that I wanted to say in this video was a couple of weeks ago. Probably by now it's about a month old. You guys might have heard the story. I got a hair in my eye. Lovely. By now you guys probably have heard the story, but maybe not. Basically, this guy placed an order for a 400Z. Actually, no, he didn't place an order. Sorry, he walked into a Nissan dealership in the States, went in, paid for his Z, signed all the paperwork, blah blah blah. They were basically just getting the car registered in his name. That's what they were doing. Now, mind you, in the States, I don't know if it happens here, but I do know in the States, they, like, each dealership can kind of sell the car for whatever they want. So if they're asking 10% over sticker, people kind of have to pay whatever the dealership is asking if they want their car. Now, that comes with its own plus minus situations, but basically this guy paid well over sticker. Like, he paid a lot of money for that Nissan Z, the 400Z, of which, yes, I know it's not called the 400Z. We've been through this multiple times already in multiple different videos, but anyway, so he bought that for well over what it should be valued at, basically, or what how do I explain myself properly? Basically, Nissan is given a price that they should sell the car at, but then they can sell it for whatever they want over that. There we go. And they were selling it a lot over, and the guy bought it anyway. Whatever, the guy just paid for it. And then a different dude walked into the Nissan dealership, offered an extra 50k, whatever it was, I'm not sure, to be 100% honest with you, and they sold the previous guy's Z to him, and basically he got to sign all the paperwork and stuff because he offered a little bit extra cash. After the previous guy had signed all the paperwork, it was being moved into his name from the dealership at this point. Anyway, this guy ended up going on Facebook, having a big rant towards Nissan and saying rude things about the branch, which I mean is agreeable. Then the branch basically was like, one bad review is not going to kill us. He got the entire Z community to support him. Yeah, it got escalated like real fast. Anyway, in short, he did end up getting his Nissan 400Z at the end of the story anyway, and he's all happy driving around in his car now, although I'm sure he has a bit of a sour taste left in his mouth because they were not particularly nice. Voice cracks. Where I'd like to bring up my thoughts on the conversation is, firstly, that was a dick thing to do from the dealership, but I'm not in a position to speak on a dealership's front. You know, it's well beyond me. Anyway, where I have issue is the fact that they're asking like triple figures above the original asking price that's like kind of set by Nissan. That's kind of where I draw a line. To be honest, like, if a car's got a certain amount of miles on it, and it should just be like there's a book value that the car kind of just follows, which I think is kind of what we do here. But just my biggest concern, and this is going to sound very childish, but is that like people can't really afford these things unless they can afford proper toys anyway, if that makes sense. Because back in the day when this came out, this was a relatively cheap car. It would have been valued at about, like, in today's money, probably about 300,000 rand. So, with that being said, like, yes, if you weren't very financially well off, you'd go out and you go buy something else, something more practical, blah blah blah. If you were doing okay, you could go out and buy one of these, and it wasn't an expensive car. I mean, considering back in the day, Lamborghinis and Ferraris of the day were still considered to be million, 2 million, 3 million rand cars, if not dollars. They were cuck expensive in the first place. So these were very cheap alternatives to those sports cars, but it's a similar premise, if that makes sense. My meaning is just in modern times, there isn't really that niche being filled anymore. Don't get me wrong. Actually, I was going to say we've got things like the Swift Sports, Focus ST, some of the fancier like Alphas, but like I want to say they're more practical cars. They're still like 700,000 brand new, and I'm talking about this was brand new, about 300,000. And I understand times have changed, things have moved on, better materials, better quality, more reliable, more efficient, more powerful, so on and so forth. But I do still feel there's a niche that's, or maybe it's not a niche, maybe I'm wrong. Just I look at the whole situation and I'm like, there's the 400Z, the Mark V Supra, all of these cars that, their predecessors were, do you mind, bro? Hardy Dog just going on a rant. All of their predecessors were cheap alternatives to, well, they were Japanese cheap alternatives to the European sports cars, or American sports cars, inverted commas, because they were muscles, but yes. I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking properly, but like, there's no cheaper alternatives these days. Well, I suppose, relatively speaking, a Ferrari 488 these days is what, like 5 mil? So I suppose a 400,000 rand brand new ND Miata is relatively well priced, speaking of which, or a 700,000 rand Suzuki Swift Sport. Okay, maybe I'll retract my whole comment. But a subtopic of that is where I was going into, of the asking overprice for it. Now, I don't know if locally it's being done, because I know, so again, the GR86 has recently launched here in South Africa, and they are asking quite large pricing for it, in my opinion. I don't know if the car is worth it, considering the amount of performance you get from the car. I suppose I did get a sit-in one. I don't know if I'm actually allowed to talk about it, but I went to a meet where one was revealed. I do have a video on it. I'm not allowed to show it until they've shown their video, so I'm not going to say anymore. Anyway, I got to sit in one. The interior is lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. The car looks gorgeous. I know that it handles exceptionally well from reviews that I have seen of people. So, to be 100% honest, I do think it's worth a fair amount, but is it worth more than an ND Miata is? That I'm unsure on, and I'm a little unsettled on how big the price gap has jumped. Now, obviously, the ND Miata is a lot older than the GR86, but my meaning is it then now makes me concerned for the new pricing for the Miata. I don't know. I was, I actually came into this video thinking, no, car companies, depending on where you are in the world, are asking too much for their cars. But relatively thinking about it now, I'm like, actually they're not. They're asking pretty reasonable pricing, all things considered. Again, even if it's like 700,000 Rand, that's a lot of money, okay? But all things considered, what is a Ferrari, even a second-hand Ferrari 458, is like, I don't know, but probably about 4 million. So it's good pricing, I suppose. Things are just too expensive these days. That's my conclusion for today's video. Damn, why is everything so expensive? I don't know, just, yeah. Should companies ask over sticker though? Like, should they ask for extra, or should they even accept extra if someone's already paid for it? I think if someone's already paid for it, especially if they've signed like all the paperwork and stuff, that car is theirs. Just deal with it. If somebody walks in and they offer you, I don't care if they offer you $1 million over what the car was supposed to be sold for. If the paperwork's been signed and stuff, the car's been sold. It's taken off the lot, if you know what I mean. It shouldn't be acceptable. Or additionally, phone up the customer that's already signed for the car and stuff and say, listen, somebody else has walked in and offered this amount. Would you be interested in making a deal? Because it's their car already. They've signed all the paperwork. So it can still happen through the dealership. The dealership still gets their cuts, but now the customer walks away with at least a little bit extra cash because he's losing out on getting his car early, or whatever you want to call it. I think that's a fair deal, but don't just sell it from underneath the dude. Now, talking of over sticker pricing, should that be a thing? I don't know if that should be a thing, to be 100% honest. Because, again, if you walk in and you're just straight up willing to offer the dealership more money for the car, then all fair dues. If you've got cash to go ball around in 100%, that's fine, that's up for you, my dude. Go for it. But I don't think it's right that dealerships are asking more than what the car should actually be being sold for. Why is English such a difficult language? Anyway, and that's kind of where I start drawing a line. I'm like, I don't think, because I saw it with the Supra, the Mark V Supra, when that came out in the States. I saw it with the 400Z when that came out in the States. I saw that with the GR 86 in the States, although they've got more the BRZ than the, my point being, I saw that happen a lot, and for me, that's crossing a line a bit. I don't think dealerships should be allowed to do that, which I think is what happens in this country. They're not really allowed to. If Toyota is selling the GR86 for a particular price, then it's being sold for that price. All dealerships kind of have to be plus minus that price, maybe an extra grand here, an extra grand there. But they can't be extravagant amounts. They can't basically be more than like 10,000 Rand, I guess, over. Might be wrong about that. Again, it does also depend on the amount of miles that's on the car, what spec it is it the low end spec, the high end spec, so on and so forth. That's all relative, but my meaning is if you had identical cars, identical miles, identical paint, identical spec, I don't think it's right that one dealership should be asking more, because that means also, and this is a problem in the States, because again, I actually noticed this with TJ when he was trying to buy a manual Mark V Supra. He was asking dealerships across the country, like on the other side of the States, if they'd sell him a car for that price, because, people his side were either like, no, we don't have stock, one, or two, they were asking retarded amounts, or they're not allowed to deal with people because reasons, I don't know. And I found that so silly. It's like me driving all the way down to Cape Town and being like, yes, can I buy your ND Miata? Because it's, 200,000 rand cheaper than one up here. Which I do know in the second-hand market, I think that's fine. Because in the second-hand market, you ask what you want for your car. If you feel your car is worth whatever amount, it's probably up for debate, and it might not actually be worth that. But, it's up for debate. Exactly what I said. But from a dealership, like a first-hand car, identical miles from here and down in another part of the country, I think it should be being sold for pretty much the same value, because it is the same value. Why is a car differently valued depending on where it is within the country? That just seems a bit silly and goofy to me. Again, if it's spec differently, sure, but if it's not, I really don't think it's worth it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong and I'm misreading the entire situation. Maybe somebody who owns a car dealership message me in the comments down below and let me know your thoughts on the situation. Obviously, from a dealership's point of view, if you can make an extra 200k, you kind of want to make an extra 200k. But I don't think that's the right way to go around it, because it just makes these cars like unobtainable again. And the whole point of these cars in the first place, which is what I mentioned earlier, is that they were cheap alternatives to cheap underpowered, mind you, obviously it's not on the same power level or whatever, as things made from very fancy companies such as Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, blah blah blah. Although Porsche's like next level company, they've got like every single stage. They make from the low end stuff all the way to the top end stuff. Like Porsche's just across the board there. Porsche's on the ball. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to actually add to this topic. Obviously, as much as I'd love to walk into a dealership now and go see an ND Miata or the NE Miata, next generation Miata, go there and just be like, yes, this is a nice cheap thing, let me go buy it. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works. Again, with all things in consideration, I think the cheapest car, first-hand car that you can buy these days, like the cheapest, I'm talking like baseline spec, but it's rolled off the factory miles, brand new car basically, but it's like base spec, super bad. I think it's still like 250,000. Keeping in mind, I'm a young kid, basically still. I don't know much about money and I don't earn much money, so all of this seems very expensive to me. I'm assuming there's guys out there with actual jobs who are doing much better and like earn a reasonable salary, and they're looking at that and they're thinking, yeah, no, ND Miatas are actually kind of cheap. Why not just buy one tomorrow? All things in perspective, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. Oh gosh, sorry, stretching. I really don't know what else to comment on the whole situation. Shit's gone too expensive. Conclusion for today's video. And I'd be happy to receive more not cheaped out cars. I want to say cheaped out, but I still want like quality interiors, quality stuff, blah blah blah. I just don't think cars, I was gonna say cars should be valued like that, but they need to be. Oh, very awkward topic now that I actually come to think of it. I'm going to leave today's video there. I think I've spoken enough about the topic. I've come to my conclusion on at least some of them. To be 100% honest, I agree why cars are being sold for the prices that they are now. Again, thinking about it logically, pricing versus what they would have been priced against back in the day, they're still cheap, if not actually cheaper, technically speaking. So yeah, I guess. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's short little podcast in cars. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe you can help me word out what I was trying to say in today's video, because I didn't word it very well. And yeah, until next time, guys. Cheers.